a beyond logic attraction for color-based carelessness. Yeah, I'm a black. Thing is, I'm just a cell within this system characterized by men dropped like flies, blind eyes spectate, as those with the vision lack the white collar and the crisp dollar to put a shackle to the corruption, so in hurting rage they just holler. But as I was saying, I'm just a cell within this system characterized by men dropped like flies, as Mr. Fair became disguised, impersonating Lieutenant Brute Force, unrestricted even by the very restrictions he put in place conveniently as he targets an imaginary X on the forehead of a non-threatening skin tone. I'm just a cell. But together, we form a system, a network so intricate it allows me to feel their pain even though I may not suffer with them. You see, I may not share the same geographic location as the people affected by this condition. But when we open our Bible and read the book of Genesis, we see that regardless of our skin color, our eye color, our hair color for that matter, we all share the same creator, which is the one and true God. So even though I may have never known the victims, I still consider them my siblings because God is our Father and we, the people. Now you're probably wondering what I meant when I said I'm a beyond logic attraction for color-based carelessness. Simply put, I'm black. And the concept of a key carries a slightly different taste to me as opposed to the concept of a mirror. You see, I look at a mirror and I see the way God created me. I look at a key and I wonder if I'm really free. How can one disagree with my theory of keyless misery when a Negro's right to something as simple as a decent arrest has become a gray area in over 50 pages of black and white, so that respite becomes a safe haven for the targeted and the false alarm for the hopeful? Locked out from the assurance that the cap on my head wouldn't have a cap busted in it even if my hands were reaching for the sky. No key for my dignity, so the melanin in my skin makes me a prime suspect for a non-existent felony, as my skin sings a melody even more intense than the juxtaposition between the two skins. It sings, it stings, to the point where the face is reddened but the trigger finger stays white, squeezing as the hate resonates. Locked out from the assurance that the cap on my head wouldn't have a cap busted in it, even if my hands were reaching for the sky. No key for my dignity, so the melanin in my skin makes me a prime suspect for a non-existent felony, as my skin sings a melody even more intense than the juxtaposition between the two skins. It sings, it stings, to the point where the face is reddened, but the trigger finger stays white, squeezing as the hate resonates. If only that trigger finger would instead turn pages in the book of Genesis to see that our Genesis maintains an antithesis, because the fact of the matter is, our living anatomy is just a descendant from the dead dirt God used to form us from. So ironically speaking, they treat us like dirt, like dust, when from the dust man was made, and unto dust we all shall return. Thing is, although I've become a beyond logic attraction for color-based carelessness, nothing changes the fact that consistently I am a born legacy acquired by Christ and his kingdom. Yes, I'm black. Proudly a different shade from the militarized parade who was supposed to offer aid, but instead they viciously raid the ranks of our unafraid and systematically change the very system we've made. Packing heat as if the heat of the sun and those plantations didn't burn us enough already. Bursting shots in us as if the shots they called in order to bring us halfway around the world didn't already burn holes within our souls, making the effects of an AK-47 seem like needles in a pin cushion. Thing about a pin cushion is, no matter how many pins you stick into it, it never says ouch. But the funny thing about my favorite pin cushion is, he could have said more than ouch when they stuck all those pins into him, but he didn't. My kind would say he dope as he got stuck with lashes. got stuck with punches, got stuck with ego-degenerating insults, got stuck with pins so huge they called them nails, one in each hand plus one to pin both legs. But as his mother begs spare him, he says not ouch. Wearing nothing but naked appearance, he says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. A moment of silence brings reverence, but a moment of reflection sends wisdom. Wisdom to know that God is bigger than our current stereotypical assaults, and that stereotypical assaults are no reason why a short black man can't make it to heaven. They say Black Lives Matter, but what's the matter with dying saved? They say we have the right to live, but don't we have the right to die in Christ? You see, I've noticed that it's easy to fire up a race for the sake of defending itself, but it's not so easy to fire up a race to run the race that requires endurance rather than swiftness. How many more hashtags will we type before the type of salvation necessary to really free us becomes desired? How many more Alton Stallings will there be before we realize the real enemy isn't a uniform, but rather a uniform host of principalities hosted? See, it's easy to